Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan. I'm your host, joined by my blue collar badass, Matt. How's it going, man?
Doing fantastic, Dylan. We don't need to talk about the weather too much because Peter and I were already kind of hitting on it, but it is unseasonably warm here, like 80 degrees in Michigan.
All right.
So
We're
I'll
not
take it.
going to talk about the internet. Matt's having internet problems. So I'm sure that's, the weather causing it.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to run. So I'm going to interject if Matt freezes for this and just carry on the conversation like nothing happened. Welcome to the 21st century, guys, and doing things remote. Um, so without further ado, we've got a return guest who we're super happy to have on, Pete Johnson, who, if you guys listened to our episode, what was it, like 18 months ago, maybe, Pete, something in that
Yeah, it's well over a year for sure.
ballpark. Um, he was actually, I think at that point, just starting up Valence Coatings and was off to a fantastic start. I love seeing your guys' videos of, cleaning up floors and making concrete floors look pretty. But Valence Protective Coating is a chemical distribution company focusing on everything concrete related. Mission is to support contractors with products, resources, and training necessary to exceed their goals, which I think is a big topic that we're going to hit on today is training and how that really affects business and just everything to do with flooring and chemicals and all that kind of good stuff. But Pete has 17 years in the industry as a lead trainer for chemical distribution companies, focusing on residential garage floor coatings, and currently the lead trainer with Valence Protective Coatings, where he trains contractors on how to install products and support them in technical questions and product systems. So basically, the technical expert for all things going on concrete for layman's layman's example. So without that further ado, Pete, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, no, thanks guys. I appreciate having me. It was a great time the first time, so I appreciate you guys having me back.
Yeah, it's great to see you again, man. And guys, I sorry if I cut out there. Again, I don't know what's going on, but we'll try and struggle through this. Um, Pete, I'm going to ask right off the gate. What is your background, man? It looks awesome.
Oh yeah, so I got a bunch here, but this is actually our core values that are spray painted on our wall.
So
Um,
that's real.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's drywall.
That's
So I mean, you can't really quite see it, right? So it says integrity, honesty, innovation, and passion. And then it's got would be the Minneapolis skyline. It's got some mountains up top from when I was in the military, and it's got a real cool military theme. Again, if I'm, you can see some helicopters and stuff down there.
wow, that
So,
is
and then
very cool.
we have our logo on that wall, and I have another one on that wall. So,
That is by far the most unique core values depiction I've seen yet. I've got a pretty cool poster of mine in here you can't see, but that takes the cake, man.
yeah, no, same thing. When we got this office, it was everybody just put a piece of vinyl on the wall, right? I mean, that's just kind of what people kind of classically go to, and it kind of involved into maybe getting some kid art or something to kind of come do it. And then my wife found this local graffiti artist that was going to do it, and fortunate enough, we kind of were able to contact him, and I gave him a little bit of my vision, and he just kind of put it to work every night. He'd work at night, and so every morning we'd come into the office, and something new would be done. And I didn't give him really any color themes or anything like that. I kind of told him, obviously, you got the logo and some other stuff that were key, but he just crushed it. And everybody that walks in, this is our training center. And so everybody that walks in sees this for the 3 days that we do our training class every day. So they're important to us. All the employees, our customers see them every day.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's a really cool way to display them.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I've not seen it done that way, and to have every wall, covered in not only core values, but kind of what I think it's really reflective of, the company. And obviously, like, you guys are going in and making concrete pretty, but kind of the some of the imperfections that are inherent within concrete, right? Flex of this, that, and the other thing. It kind of, like, the graffiti is pretty fitting, I think, for you guys, as an outsider kind of looking in and following and seeing you guys clean up concrete. But let me not do Valence any injustices in my descriptions here. So Pete, if you want to actually describe kind of for our listeners what you guys do, take it away, man.
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job basically, describing what we do. So we are a full scale chemical distribution company with the focus on concrete related products, right? So we offer a product for anything concrete. There's really no piece of concrete that we don't have a product or a system for. Just a matter of what system works best for the homeowner or the client. So we have multiple divisions like DOT division, commercial, industrial, light, heavy industrial. And so we build products and systems for them. And so we pretty much work with contractors and contractors only, whether it's project based, maybe like a DOT project based, or a homeowner gonna go do garage floors. And so we put down multiple different systems based on what they need. So when we say chemical distribution, we provide them with the chemicals, the training, and the support, just like the mission and our vision statement says. And then we just support them all the way through. My job is to basically train them on the systems, give them all the technical support along the way. God forbid they mix some products wrong or there's a problem, and then just support them. And then we've gotten into a lot into business development. One of our core things that we believe in and we've had great success in is taking somebody that's new to the industry, maybe a new entrepreneur or somebody that's bringing on a new vertical market in their business, of how to grow this side of the business, right? So how are you generating leads? How are you closing leads? How are you selling that job, installing it right? And as you know, in the economy, it's very unique. Penny means a lot more today than it did a couple of years ago. And so we really are hashing on efficiency as well.
That's cool, man. I'm going to back you up a little bit. Are you saying DOT is in like Department of Transportation?
Yes, correct.
What do you guys do for them? If you can tell us. I mean, yeah. in my mind, DOT, like, you're obviously not putting floor coverings out on the highway. So what are you doing for them?
You actually are. So especially up in our environment, right? So there's freeze thaw, and then they have actual like water repellents. The big thing is bridge deck coating. So obviously in their cold environment, right, it can freeze and thaw. So you need to make sure that those bridge decks aren't freezing and thawing as soon as everything else, or more importantly, when that water starts to melt, that has somewhere to go. So up here, we're protecting that concrete, whether it's a penetrating style, what they call a silane, siloxane style product, like the Jersey barriers, right? The barriers between your walls, they're coating them, all the salt damage, which is the biggest thing in Minnesota. So we're basically protecting all these roads from salt damage. So any new cement road or concrete-based road that goes in Minnesota gets some type of treatment on it.
Wow. I had no idea. Michigan has obviously missed the boat on that, and we just let our roads crumble away to nothing. So I might want to, I'm going to send your contact information to our governor.
Yes. It's good and bad. It's repeat business, right? And then a lot of it's what they call self-performing. So you could take a product and pretty much just ship it to the, say, state of Minnesota, and they do all the work, right? So they're putting it down, and like Mike, our DOT guy, like he might go train them for a day, but it's self-performing. Like we're not training them for days, or we don't have to be on site. So it's kind of a lot of, easy, but it's a lot of work to get into that bid and spec, and then year after year. I mean, you guys deal with it similar too. So it sounds glamorous, but it's a hell of a lot of work.
Oh, I bet.
Well, so my question in there is, do they apply it every year, or is it just upon like cure?
It is dependent upon timelines and exactly what they're doing. So let's just say a bridge deck coating goes in. Usually what they're going to do is every about 3 to 5 years, they're going to go ahead and take a core sample of that concrete and kind of see the level of penetration, like what they have left. And then they kind of judge basically how much more use they have out of it. Some of the products are penetrating, but I mean, you see the 5 million cars or whatever it is a year going, obviously it's going to eventually wear down. So they just judge that over time. So it's not every year, but as new construction happens every year, that's where you see the majority of the business.
Right. Well, and just a ton of bridges, you are the land of 10,000 lakes. So
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's kind of a big thing now that we brought on Mike. He's got 27 years of experience on that. So I mean, we pretty much got one of the leading experts in it. So I mean, he's running with it. We had a good meeting yesterday with a vendor about it. And now we're tackling some other states and into Texas and stuff like that as well.
Oh, nice. So you're are you nationwide?
So on our side, so like our like valence protective coatings, like when you look at like our residential side of things, yeah, we have customers from Maine to California and everywhere in between. So we do have two locations that we sell product to and from. But if you look at like the DOT side of things, right now we're getting stuff into Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, and then our next one we're working on is Texas.
Nice. Very cool, man. I didn't realize you guys had spanned out that far. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I'll be honest. I don't understand it 100%, but that's why you hire people that are smarter and better than you.
There you go, brother. That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good segue into really, from what it sounds, what you do most on the day to day, right? And not necessarily hiring people, but in training people, right? And bringing people on and bringing them into your ecosystem. So talk a little bit about the training side. And I'm personally, curious about a lot of this because, and I think our listeners will be too, in that training is one of the things I think that gets pushed to the wayside a little bit, not necessarily in like the technical training, but in the training of bringing people in, getting them acquainted to what they're doing and not just like, hey man, sink or swim, type of training methodologies, right? Like not so much on the job, but you're bringing people in through a training center and giving them everything that they need. But really kind of walk us through that in training and setting these guys up for success.
Yeah. Training's huge in this industry. I agree. And it kind of goes, I look at the industry almost in two ways, right? Like you're going to look at like, say like our way of doing it, right? Like formal training, not on a customer's job site in the center. And then you're going to have the other way that might be a 2 to 4 hour class, kind of come to somewhere, just kind of slap some crap down and then good luck. One of the biggest things. So if you start from the beginning, if we have a contractor contact us, whether they're already in the industry or if they're new to the industry, we are pretty much automatically going to make them come to our training class. Why? Because the products that we use, they're proprietary to us. And so you need to become certified through us and our programs to be able to use those products. Yes, we do have other products you sell, you don't have to be certified, but in my world with the residential side, you need to come to class and see from the very beginning, right? What do you have to do to prep the concrete? How are we treating the cracks? How do these products be applied the correct way? We deal with a lot of very fast settings. Could be 5 minute to an hour minute cure time. So you can mix these up and all of a sudden you have a brick that's cost you $100. Well, I don't want that phone call in a month saying you just wasted $100. And so we walk them through our class room here, and then we have our hands-on center that we show them everything for 2.5 days. And then we start talking about the sales and the marketing, and we give them those tools and resources that we keep talking about, then go and be successful. And then what that does then is we also warranty our products. So if they're going to go and put what we call a polyurea residential garage floor coating down, if they're going to install that in Michigan and they've already come through our class, you then, as a homeowner, you're going to get it warranted for 15 years backed by us, the company. Okay. Now, that installation company is going to warranty it for a minimum of what we offer. And they put it down to our specs so they can honor that warranty. The homeowner's taken care of. And so it eliminates a lot of problems on our end. And that's one of our biggest things that I've seen in the industry is when you train the guys the right way, right away, one, it creates a lot of loyalty, right? We're behind them. We stand behind them. We're giving them the tools and the tips and tricks to be successful. But more importantly, God forbid there's ever a problem, we have their back.
So when you're talking about warranties and extended warranties, you're obviously doing a great job training these guys on the front end. Do you have to set up a lot of protections then for the company on the back end? Like, do you send out inspectors after it's been installed to make sure it's done correctly and that they didn't forget what you taught them?
Not necessarily like right afterwards. So we don't have that power to do it. I mean, we say from coast to coast, we might have 500 garage floors going in a given day, right?
Gonna
So,
say, yeah,
but it's to say that there's a potential problem, or maybe there's something going on. We can take to Mike or Derek or myself. We'll fly out to that site and we'll have one of those people on site. Like Derek's got two level 1, level 2 floor coating inspection certificate classes or certifications, right? So we'll go out and inspect it as, yeah, we work for the company, but we're going to give an honest report to that, say, homeowner, business owner, and what's going back. So if there's a problem, that we want to be able to inspect it. And again, the way I tell our customers is, I want you to be able to hold me responsible, and I got to be able to hold you responsible. And maybe the homeowner messed up, you got to hold them responsible, right? There's a chain that's got to be followed here. And that's, again, I think why I'm so big on training is, in theory, if you follow the roadmap that we give you, you're really eliminating 99% of the problem. There's always going to be something. You never know. But yeah, I mean, that's a huge thing, is being able to go to somebody's business and follow up with them to give them real world advice on maybe this floor is a problem or anything like that. So we set it up on the back end. The warranty covers a lot of like true failures, right? Delamination, peeling, right? Coming up off the floor. And that's why we warranty it. And again, that's why it's proprietary, and that's why we do training, and that's why we only sell certain products, because in our opinion, we like certain products that bond better to concrete more than others. And so that's why we sell them. And of course, that's how you can stand behind them.
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. It's kind of like, in our world, we try to systemize and set up processes for everything we do internally, so that, from one estimator to the next, from one sales guy to the next, one PM to the next, everybody's doing the core functions the same damn way. Right. Way easier said than done, I'll say that. So good job on you for covering that sort of stuff, coast to coast. That's a big undertaking.
It's not easy. And I mean, stuff slips, there's no doubt about it. And I wish there was 10 more of me. I mean, I wish we could, how that is, right? You love to duplicate yourself. And I'm fortunate I have two, but there's not a lot of that level of knowledge guys in the industry that either are crushing it already or are going to want to come work with me.
Well, and so I guess kind of building off of that, the next question would be in like, for the people that you are training, how do people end up finding out about you to come and be trained? And then is that something like, is it like a dealer relationship where, if they sign up to get your product that they get training, or how would that really work if somebody wanted to be a part of this, to where they can then be an installer for like residential garage floors? I'm sure commercial divisions and all that are a different beast and animal, but for like garage floor coatings and installations.
Yeah. We've been fortunate enough where a lot of the contractors that we deal with are like word of mouth. Just had one guy yesterday who's a customer of mine out of Arkansas who relayed my name to another guy who's looking to get out of the corporate world and get into the industry. So it is a lot of word of mouth. There is a handful of groups within like Facebook groups within the industry that, we're in. I get tagged in this. My customers say that. And we also have an ambassador program. So again, we want our customers to kind of help us out, right? So if they're referring us, they can get a discount and stuff like that. But a lot of it's word of mouth. We might go after a market too. So let's just say we want an installer in Memphis, Tennessee. We'll do some Facebook ads, and I'll just shoot a video and say, hey, Memphis, Tennessee, we're looking for, a new customer to kind of take on these coatings and stuff like that. Generate the leads through Facebook, weed them all out, kind of give them their introductory interview, I guess, if you will. Because we want customers that are on the same page, right? Core values, and are looking to grow and kind of be a fit. And so they'd reach out, and then we kind of have that interview and kind of stuff like that. And then we pretty much just schedule training. They schedule classes, usually are booked out 2 months. We're booking our June class right now. And so they kind of get booked in. They bring 3 people. There's a cost to the class, but then we refund that money back in a material credit, so training's free. There's a cost obviously to getting here, but there's a benefit knowing that I'm not just charging you for $500 or $1,000 and then off you go. We're actually trying to give it back to them. So I'm very fortunate where I have a very good name in the industry. My name gets shared a lot. And so I've been very fortunate where if people want quality training in this industry, they usually come to me, to be honest.
That sounds like a good program, especially if you're giving it back to them more or less. Do you get a lot of pushback or any pushback from guys, or like, screw you, I don't need it?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, there's always those industry experts or those pros, right? Or I've been doing this for X long, right? Like, I don't need this. And that's fine. That's not always our customer. And that's why we found such good success with taking that guy that's either new to the industry, new to business, and growing them and giving them those tools, right? Like I've found it more successful where I can talk to those people and build them into this, and not the guy who's been doing it for 27 years. And why am I going to come to class? You come to my job site, you train on my job with my crew, with my equipment. And we definitely get that feedback or pushback, I guess. It's going to happen in the industry, I think, right?
Sure.
I mean, from my perspective and hearing this, I mean, to basically have a turnkey opportunity with, figuring out sales, marketing, things that have worked, right? Or at least that's what I'm hearing. So correct me if I'm wrong in this, Pete, but, where you walk them through the sales and marketing stuff, right? And how to generate leads, how to get business, which obviously it helps you, but it helps them create a business, a company. It creates customers for them in their local community. And, obviously they get a good product, they get training in how to do it. It's, pretty outside of, flights and hotel rooms, the things covered, effectively in product down the road. So for somebody to have a turnkey company almost, right? And obviously there's setup costs and all that, but I guess walk me through that, because one, just from where Matt and I sit, blue collar industry, right? And this is that, right? Those guys going out and installing stuff, and it's in their local community. They might travel 50, 100 miles, whatever to do this, but it's creating a job or jobs within that community for these guys to go and do installations. It's, having some of the nicest garage floors are typically the guys with the classic cars that they're pulling in and then putting carpet down, or runners for their cars. But to have these, or the man caves that they want to put in, or whatever, I don't know what the term for women is, but usually the guy gets relegated to the garage. So, but, having that in local communities, local jobs, like that is everything that Matt and I talk about and push here, to have these guys to go out and do stuff within their community in a position. Like you talked about a guy in corporate America that probably got burnt out and tired of deadlines and meetings and wanted to be outside and kind of work with their hands, and get back to doing stuff locally versus, whatever they might've been doing in corporate America. So one, I'm all for this. But really kind of, I guess, help me or correct anything or walk through if I've missed anything, and kind of handing like some turnkey business effectively to these guys.
That's kind of like how that conversation started yesterday. Was his, question to me was, what the hell do I do? Right? Like, what's next? I mean, that's really because he doesn't know. And so when somebody comes to us who doesn't know that, and when we say we have all the tools and resources, like we have somebody who can design a logo for them and a website and the market, like we don't do that, but I will point you to our trusted vendor who's going to do that. So the conversation was, this is what you're going to need. And I said, hey, these are your first 3 things you're going to do. Make sure you obviously get your LLC set up, right? Again, generic things that might a lot of people take for granted, but they don't know, right? Getting your Facebook, and then we have like a marketing folder, right, that I can send him, and he can start to post about some marketing. And so kind of like started the conversation that way. And then today I kind of followed up with the email that's a little more detailed of, hey, here's the link to follow up for training. Here's the link to contact the marketing company. Here's the link to finance your equipment. Okay. You get into this, like doing it the right way, you're going to get into a floor grinder and a big vacuum, you know. We think a Dyson vacuum is expensive. Our vacuums are $5,000 plus, you know. So we're looking at a $25,000, $35,000 investment. But again, we partnered with a financial company to help with that. So I'm just providing all these links essentially to this guy. And if he's serious about it, he'll check off the boxes. And when he's ready, he's signed up for class. And then when he's signed up for class, he comes, he gets what we call a sales kit, in-home sales kit, right? So it's got samples. We've got all the different color samples. He gets all that. He goes through class, and we teach him how to present those samples. And then he goes back to, for this example, it happened to be Kansas City. He's going to go back to Kansas City when he's already got all of his business, everything set up. And we try to plan it to the point where if he ordered product and he's ordered his equipment, it all kind of shows up very similar time frame for when he finishes class, right? So don't finish class today and then you're not going to get on your first job for 3 months. We lose knowledge. And then we're starting a different training program too, where you come to class, we give you everything here, which is great. But now one of us, is most likely me, from at least my division, we're going to go and work with you and set up your trailer, help you. We're going to go out and teach, you know, some of those sales. Part of our training cost, which might go up, will include me going and working with you on site for 2 to 3 days, right? Like, don't just come to class and I just hope and wave for the best. We take somebody from nothing in reality for business and we give him these tools, but then if he can't do anything with it, we just wasted time as well. And so that's how we do it. It's turnkey, but we don't do it all. We have the resources, and that's the thing. We have guys that are running 15, 20 man crew or like, you know, jobs, right? Or like trailers, right? So, I mean, like you said, in the community, it could be 10 to 20 different jobs that this one brand new business just started.
Oh, that's awesome, man. It's almost like a franchise model, except that unless you tell me I'm wrong, you don't have ownership in any of these. You're just kind of you're right, doing all the legwork. Yeah.
Well, you're correct, right? So I mean, I'm kind of giving him I would say I'm giving him the roadmap. I mean, I am, right? I mean, but I mean, there's a lot of work obviously on the back end that they do. But yeah, I don't own anything, right? It's their own company. It's 100%. The only transactional agreement I have is, you know, it's a friendly handshake agreement. I don't have a written contract in place that says you have to buy all your materials from us or anything like that. And I found that to be more successful with some of the guys that do get into contractual obligations or the franchise because they are limited maybe in what they can do, where they can travel, what jobs they're going to be able to take on. And I don't want ownership in the company. You can go and market, you have a Valence floor done, that's great. But go market that you have your company's floor done, right? It's supported by us, but go build your brand.
Dude, it's a great system. So I've been reading a nice classic from 1962 here. It's The Success System That Never Fails, W. Clement Stone. So Stone built the insurance company, Combined Insurance Company of America, from like 1930 to, I mean, this was written in 62, but it became the largest insurance company in the US in like 56, 7. And it, you know, he built like in the 50s, he was worth, you know, like $35 million personally. And I don't know what the Combined Insurance Company of America was at its height, you know, so let's just say triple that more in net worth, right, from a guy in the 60s. But he did exactly what you're doing. He went and he ultimately had to travel across the country because his son had, or one of his kids had problems being in like Michigan and Chicago and up in your neck of the woods during times of the year, right, with hay fever and some other
Yeah.
stuff. So they traveled down to like Arizona, and he along his way would stop and like every day sell something, right? He'd go around and sell insurance policies, and then he'd find somebody in that area wherever he was staying. He would train a guy, right? He would basically do mailings in the newspaper looking for salespeople. He would then go and interview them, find them, train them, spend a couple days with them, and what you're talking about, and going on the road with them to sell. And then he would kind of move on, and he traveled around the country with his family for years doing that. So it just reminded me as I'm reading this book, that's what Clement Stone did. And funny enough, so in late in life, this is kind of an aside, but Napoleon Hill he had a lot of struggles in his life and ended up being broke. But Clement Stone bailed Napoleon Hill out, bought all his intellectual property. They did some books together, all because, to what you're talking about, Clement Stone had systems for it that Napoleon Hill did not put around his intellectual property. So the system that never fails.
Yeah, that's good to know. I've made that note. I'll have to look into that. That's the fastest way that I've found it to make it work with guys. And again, stuff that we touched on a little bit before, efficiency. So that's another one of my big things, right? So if I can set up a company or get somebody to set up a company, and if I say, at first you're going to be an owner operator, and then eventually you'll move into the owner operator in sales while you have a guy doing this and this, and we're trying to just build them over the course, like, hey, what's the 1 to 3 year plan look like? What if you do this? This is your opportunity. And we don't force anything, right? Nobody mandatory has to buy anything, but we have success stories, and we have people that are still want to be mom and pop shops. But we just say, here it is. You do what you want with it, and we're here to support you.
What are you guys seeing as the biggest challenge that your installers, your guys that come to you, what is the biggest challenge they're seeing now? Is it still labor, or has it spread to different facets of the industry?
Marketing. I think guys still have labor shortages, but I mean, we hear enough about this, right? If you're labor shortage, you probably should look internally, right? I mean, maybe you got to look at your culture and all that type of stuff. I mean, but I think guys can find that. But my biggest struggle with guys is spending money on marketing and lead generation. So, for us, we're doing a residential garage floor like in one day. We can be in and out in one day. So if one crew can really do 4 to 5 jobs a week, right? So you need those leads. What's your closing percentage? How many leads do you need to come in? What's your revenue you need to spend on leads? Are you spending it on Facebook, TV, radio? So we've had a lot of coaching or kind of classes this in Q1 primarily about marketing. Where's your money best well spent? And a guy that's crushing it and say in Charleston, South Carolina, is going to be spending his money maybe differently than the guy in Minnesota versus California, right? Like, what is that? And so we interview those 3 guys, or right in different geographical areas, and I just ask them, like, what are you doing? What is your lead gen? Like, what are you roughly spending, and how are you getting the leads? And then everybody kind of shares what they're doing. But I feel that most of our guys don't look at marketing as pretty much a necessity and an asset. They almost look at it as a liability because it's money, and they're scared it's not going to come back.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say, I think that's probably industry wide, right? As a whole collective organism in construction, I think most firms are pretty afraid of marketing in general, and they don't know how the hell to do it. And B, it's always that, are we going to spend this on marketing and not get it back? Or should we spend this on new people, new tools, new equipment, whatever it may be. So I think that's probably pretty damn common.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I found is the guys that are aggressive and want to grow, they need more leads, right? So we, like an average guy in our industry, one of our guys, they might be booked out 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks even. Well, once they start consistently getting 3, 4, 5 weeks booked out and they're still having leads come in, if they still can hit the gas pedal and get more leads, they can still get booked out maybe 7 or 8 weeks. In the process of that, they now have enough revenue to hire 1 or 2 more guys, the truck, the trailer, the grinder. And so if they're stuck at being only booked out 2 weeks because they're only getting so many leads coming in, they're never going to grow. They got to spend that money to just gas pedal the leads coming in. You're going to get booked out because then you're going to funnel in those people and equipment in the meantime.
Yeah. Oh man, I have so much to say on this. From a So the simplest thing from like a marketing standpoint, and this is where I think a lot of people screw up, is they don't have a defined cost on what it actually takes to acquire a customer, right? You in this right, with Facebook or Google or whatever, you pretty much have a defined cost, or it's a lot easier to have a defined cost of what it takes to, dollar in, customer out, right? How many dollars in does it take? Is it 20, 50, 100 to get a customer out, right? There's a lead and then you only close whatever percentage of that. And so you like, the simple math would be if it's $20 to acquire a lead and then you close, half of that, right? Really $40 to get a customer. So then you need to bake that cost into your cost of doing the job. And this is where a lot of people screw up in this, is they think time and material of the job, maybe getting there, but they don't like bake in lead cost and the front end pieces of this to like acquire that customer, right? So you maybe need to add $100 on your job for, cost of doing job plus some profit in job, but you also need to do it for sales and marketing. One is just from a dollars in out standpoint. We had Scott Pieper on, and talking about cash flow. And this is one of those things that people often really mess up on. So that's one. Two is for guys that are doing like residential stuff or in a given area. One of the best things to do is, and this is, it's got some like thing called work attached to it, but is doing like a kind of a form letter, right? Most of it's going to be the same, and you change out the name of the customer that you have. So you basically write a form letter, with your customer's name in there. And if it's in a neighborhood, more than likely they know the guy to the left and right of them, and then the 3-door, door across the street, and then on each side of that. So you have 5 doors that you can hit, right, with a hanger or put it in the mailbox or whatever, while you're on that job site doing that job for that guy. That is the, cheapest 20 cents that you're going to do in pure cost of, printing some paper and writing it up. You got to write it once, change some names, make sure to actually change that name, and then go out and, walk across the street and put these in their mailbox or knock on the door and make the sale while you're doing the job, right? To say that you're doing it across the street, come and take a look, whatever, especially if it's in a garage. Those things can be done. And that's some of the easiest forms of marketing, is word of mouth, walking around and doing that, to where you're not going to have to, because people are so adverse to giving Facebook, Google, YouTube money, that this is a simple way that one customer can become 2, just simply by, brochure, letter, whatever, and walking and having a conversation with those people across the street. So don't underestimate like that form of marketing. And this goes for everybody, right? Whether you're doing a commercial job and you go and talk to the neighbors, more than likely they got a commercial building too, for wherever you're building them. It's, pretty simple. And whether that's before you kick it off to let for the next 18 months, it's going to be a dirt, field, or, upon completion, whatever that might be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you really hit that on the head. And that's something that we talk to the guys about. But again, I'm the guy that doesn't know anything about marketing, right? And I'm the guy I'm like, hey, go talk to these guys. But we have, I know them well enough, and right, yard signs, right? Print vehicle wraps, right? Some of that common stuff. Direct mail, got some, contacts in direct mail, hitting them before, during, and after, and all that type of stuff. Because it's pennies in reality. One thing that we do that we find, again, you guys probably find it the same thing too, is when you're building something that's cool, it always attracts attention from somebody walking by or whatever that is, right? So for the most part, most of our installations are when the weather's at least 40 degrees or above, or pretty close, right? So if somebody's walking or somebody's moving through the neighborhood, and same thing, it generates an interest where they're looking, going, well, what the hell are they doing, right? And that's the common thing that see a yard sign, a trailer, and a actual brochure or something. Now that just one job could have sold two, your referral cost is nothing in reality, and now your lead per your cost per lead just got cut in half, whatever that is. Exactly what you just started talking about.
Yeah, never underestimate the power of a nosy neighbor, right? Like, I mean, and you're in the middle of the day, right? So if you're especially if you're in an affluent community, because let's face it, if affluent communities are the ones that are doing garage coatings, it's not going to be, poor neighborhoods. So in that, you've got some, and I'm going to stereotype the heck out of this, but you got some soccer moms walking around the neighborhood, that would probably be interested in doing this, right? They're tired of looking at bad floors, right? That are ugly, all that kind of stuff, to where this becomes, a simple yard sign while you're working, some brochures, or even one of those real estate hangers, that you can slip stuff in. They could take a letter as they walk past. I mean, there's a lot of ways to do this in like a guerrilla marketing style effort, to where, that soccer mom who is, we all know the type, they're interested in what's going on, right? And they would take a flyer as you're working, and they're not going to interrupt anybody. They won't come and, tap you on the shoulder or anything, but they'll for sure take a flyer. And so, like, it's thinking of all these types of things, right? This could be for your commercial job, for HVAC, for anything that you're doing in a neighborhood type setting, right? In a cul-de-sac that, is simple for that, passerby to get your information, and it costs you nothing.
Yeah. We're seeing a fair amount of guys actually starting the wraps and stuff. I mean, it's after COVID, for the most part, everybody pretty much knows how to do a phone QR code thing, right? So again, you're not going to get a lot of people, or we generate a lot of noise when we do it. And so they're just going to take their quick picture and off they go, but you just captured that lead.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Pete, we're getting close here up on time. Where can people find you?
Well, the big thing right now is Facebook, Instagram. It's Valence Coatings or Valence Protective Coatings. We have another brand down in Texas. It's called Valence Supply. Basically doing the exact same thing, just in a different location. So the biggest thing to kind of, if somebody wants to get a hold of me, you can find me on my personal page, or I would just hit up Valence Protective Coatings and on Facebook, and then send us a message.
I love your guys' videos, cleaning up the concrete, man. It's
Yeah.
It's cool before and afters.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, make it look pretty.
Hey, Peter, it was great to see you again, man. I appreciate you coming back on the show and spreading some love for the flooring industry with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's an ugly industry, but we can make it look pretty.
Any last words, Pete?
No, thanks again, guys. I appreciate the opportunity coming back on. It's always good to talk to you guys. And, if I can help you guys out, let me know. If there's anybody out there in any flooring industry, doesn't matter if it's mine or not, I probably have a contact or at least some knowledge. So feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Well, Pete, it's great having you back on. Thank you again for Valence Coatings a follow, and we appreciate you coming on, man. And until next time, that's this episode of the Construction Corner Podcast.